This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I'm going to call the meeting of the Manhan Rail Trail Committee to order. It's November 18th, 2024 at 7:00 p.m. We're going to begin by the approval of the October 21st meeting minutes. That was the regular meeting and the Friends of the Manhan Railway. Send it out if anybody has any comments or corrections.
I didn't find anything. I thought it was great.
Thank you. Yeah, that was good. Really good. Okay, do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Oh, hang on. Accept the minutes of the October 21st, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hands. Okay, all right. We're gonna skip over the new any public speak time? Joe, are you just sitting in, or any public speak that we have before we start? Okay. I kind of wanted John to be here. Do we have any trail maintenance updates? I have one. So we have a lawn tractor in our shed, and Terry was saying, she may have said it at the last meeting, but the brakes are not working. So it's really not safe to use. John picked up the mower and he took it to Flurry Power, the equipment place.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they're not a dealer of that brand, and it was too old, so that they didn't have any parts that they were able to fix it. So I mentioned it to Greg and the DPW, and, because they have a mechanic, and you never know. So they came and they picked it up today, and I think they took the parts tractor as well.
Okay.
And they were gonna go see what they could figure out. And if it's not fixable, then maybe they can just get rid of it.
Okay.
Because we could use the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's John. Good. Talking about the tractor.
Huh?
We're talking about the tractor.
Okay.
The DPW picked it up today, and they're gonna take a look at it.
Oh, okay.
And they took the parts tractor too. So.
All right.
Terry had been borrowing, I guess, she borrowed a leaf blower from John.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still got my leaf.
Yep, and she said the trail looks pretty good, that she thinks that right now that it's pretty much, it's good for the season.
Winter.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
John, do you have any other trail maintenance updates?
I don't think so. No, I just, everything was good at Coleman Road.
Terry had noticed that there were a few like sharp protrusions in the trail, kind of between the Ferry Street Fork heading towards the bridge,
Okay.
just over the river. They were pretty sharp, pretty pronounced, and she was pretty concerned about them. Roots, or they're just like little sharp little bumps.
Okay.
There's no interest in really doing any trail fixes right now because of the project that's coming up. So Terry went out and she's spray painted and circled all the spots that she was concerned about. So they're well marked right now.
Okay.
So
And the only thing you could do is like,
Hi.
have a whack at them so they're a little more level.
yeah,
It's just pavement that's poking up?
it's like a
or-
root or something.
Could be a
underneath.
root or rocks or
Yeah.
things make their way up.
Yeah.
From underneath.
Yeah, I said maybe they could go out and shave it down, but there's, not much interest in doing that. If you
Right.
want to go out with a hammer and give it a try, we could try it.
I'll go take a look.
I am sledging.
Yeah, she's got them really well marked. Really well.
I did notice, I noticed it probably a month ago, and I forgot to say anything last meeting. The bench that's at the South Street crossing, is that something that the Trail.
one. Yeah, that was one of our Burger King benches. That
It's really, there are places that are now broken
Okay.
and it
No.
looks
okay.
pretty,
Pretty
like,
bad.
it would.
I'll
be
mention that to
a
my
little
husband
dangerous.
because he fixed up the ones down in
Yeah.
the same type of benches down at East Street end. And if he knows that it's in really bad shape, maybe he'll go down
Yeah,
there.
there are just some places that are broken on the edge. There's a lot of pretty sharp
Okay,
Okay,
ends
Good to
on
know.
the back.
okay.
I think.
I'll pass that along to him.
don't we have one more bench in the storage shed?
You have a big bench.
Oh,
It's not a little bench. That's just like a single
That's a-
bench.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Two.
small one, but it's
Small.
those wood slats and it's
Yeah, that came from
just
Burger
falling
King.
apart.
yeah. They're very old.
Yeah, they look.
We got them for free, so
Yep.
we,
Not Route 5. All right, since we have a police. Okay, so at our last meeting, and I'm gonna let everybody chime in on this because it wasn't really my thing. We had concerns about, people going too fast on the e-bikes. And I know that there was one person in particular, and we heard that maybe you can kind of fill us in on what happened with that.
Yeah, so there was one, he's a juvenile, so I can't give you any information
Right.
about him or what he
Don't
was
need
up
to
to
know.
or anything, but, way too fast. I say machine, I don't know the exact name of it, but the thing is capable of going like over 40 miles an hour is what I heard. Which goes in a whole different set of like laws and rules. Since then, we were able to, because he was causing trouble down at one of the schools also, which resulted in us being called. But since we identified him, spoke with him and the parents seemed very receptive, and we haven't had any dealings with him since. So there's that end of it. The police haven't had any other incidents reported, at least not that we were able to skim through and look over the past several months. So I know if you guys have, if you're noticing like a certain individual or anything like that, then we could definitely address that. But I guess I don't really know the rest of what's been going on.
yeah, I think we just wanted to, this was before we knew that you had taken care of it, but, is there anything that you could do in terms of helping us prevent this from happening again? We were talking about signage, but signage gets ignored.
Yeah, yeah.
And more signage, then people just don't read any signs.
So as far as like we're aware, we get these random, like this was a one incident thing. If it was something where you're noticing 10 or 20 and it's an everyday occurrence, I mean, even with just a few incidents, we can do what we can. Day shift, we usually only have 3 patrolmen working, but there's usually a detective or 2 kicking around or some admin that can even go out, and we have our Kubota. When it's real busy, we don't like to actually patrol on it because we know it's an inconvenience if you're walking or biking, it's loud and it's big. But especially this time of year, we can try to make guys available, especially during the day. Evenings when we have only 3 guys working, and
Right.
It's
dark.
it can get tough and it's dark. But if you have like specific complaints, like if you're noticing a pattern, like certain days, times, if it's every day at like 3 o'clock when school gets out, or every day at noon, the more info we can have, the better. So we don't have to dedicate somebody,
Right.
for long stretches. But if we know it's happened, just like we do with a lot of speeding complaints, a lot of people will call and it's this same car, 5 o'clock every night. Usually we'll sit out there for 2 or 3 days, we'll catch them, and then that'll be the end of it, and they'll learn their lesson. But other than that, I, like you say, signage and stuff, some people will pay attention, but many won't. Is there a frequency or is it a number of people that are violating it? Because the only other thing, so the police were only enforcement, right? So if it's a problem that you're seeing and it's something you'd have to, go through the city council to enact any type of city ordinances against e-bikes or whatever you're
They
noticing. but
they do have in the city ordinances definitions of what's allowed.
motorized or,
Yep,
Right.
Yeah.
they did a whole big thing with the e-bikes, but, you know, I
I
wouldn't
mean-
even know what's allowed and what's not allowed. And they can go pretty fast. Even these things out here
Yeah.
can go pretty
yeah,
fast.
well, right, yeah.
But there is a whole ordinance and it's just a matter of,
I mean, it seems like we often see bikes that look like that they would, not be allowed based on the existing ordinance, but I mean, how are you gonna know unless you actually stop someone?
Right,
And find out what type of bike it is.
Sure.
And what speed it's capable of, and then sort of direct them that, these are what the ordinances say.
Mm.
And so, the concern is that, nobody can gauge like how fast exactly somebody's going when they pass you by. And some of those bigger bikes, you worry like when they pass this close to you, they don't give you any warning as they pass,
sure.
and it looks like it might be one of the ones that's not allowed. There's not a lot you can do, and there isn't necessarily any pattern. So I don't know whether there sort of could be occasionally, once or twice a year, are aware of what the ordinances are and that are following the rules.
Yeah, so if you have literature, like, I don't know, Barbara, if you have, or you could get made up some kind of literature, just our trail specific, like something with the ordinance in there, just so we can use it as an educational,
it's all
matter.
on, it's all
Um,
online, in the ordinances.
right. But so I'm just thinking of something like an easy, like a
Pamphlet or
yeah,
something.
like information that, because we'd be happy to, I can find time, like I said, day shift. We have a couple of extra people between detectives and stuff. If they aren't busy, we can pull one guy and they can stand out somewhere. And even with a radar gun, as silly as that may sound, and if somebody's because even, I mean, let's be honest, some of these cyclists,
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with them probably on
Yeah.
the Kubota, and they have no motors in, but that way we can, just educate,
Right.
just let people know,
Yeah.
we wanna
I mean,
keep
I think it
safe.
would be, there was talk at the last meeting of like, oh, should we have a speed limit? Now, I think something like that is really, it's impossible how could you enforce that? I mean, how would you even know
Yeah.
how fast?
It would be
some-
interesting to
Plus-
find out though, if you actually use the
Yeah,
radar
with
gun
it-
to see
How
what
fast they're
speeds
going.
people are actually
Yeah,
going.
yeah, and that we can do. And
And just
especially-
use that data to determine, okay, well, maybe this is a bigger issue or maybe it's not as much of an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I know there's some, even, especially like every once in a while, like I'll take my kids for a walk, we'll go down the stretch like towards Millside Park from here. And some of those, even though they're not like sharp, it's slow winding bends, but they'll come out of nowhere and it's like, my kids are 9 and 8, they like to just wander and, they see a
Right.
butterfly, they go and, yeah. So I understand what you're saying and I agree with it. And, yeah, I was under the assumption just when I got your email and their correspondence with the chief, he was unable to attend tonight. He's got another meeting. But it was this one person. But if it's a recurring thing, we love to know about patterns and stuff like that. But we absolutely can get out and pick a few different spots and even, like I said, use a radar gun and even report back to Barbara what we come up with, what we're seeing for patterns and speeds and everything else.
Right, and I imagine it would be interesting just to see how cyclists respond to seeing one of you guys out with them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
people like to pick on us as it is, so I can only imagine some of the comments we'll get,
Yeah.
but that's all right.
Okay.
Well, we
That's-
appreciate you following up
Yeah.
on that one
Yeah.
because that was
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
that a few people
He
had
he
seen.
was just,
Oh, yeah.
I saw him, he was flying and I tried to kind of talk to him and forget it. He
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna get in his way, but I was like, slow down, but he had to be doing at least 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
The fat tires and he was all in black. Is that him? Yeah.
yeah. And like I said, there was more than one, there was a bunch of incidents and one at the school, which actually helped us to figure out who it was. And okay, from what I got from my officers that handled it, that the parents were very receptive and I tend to think that they're accurate because we haven't had any complaints about him or seen him out on that. And It's been a
Maybe
few
they
weeks
took it
now,
away.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming out.
Yeah, of
tonight.
course.
Do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, do you have anything else for me? Should I stick around?
How
or-
often do you use the Kubota? I mean,
So it depends. This time of year, not as much. You know,
'cause we really need a vehicle like that.
We need one
We
too.
need that one, something like that.
oh, you're
on
not
the
taking it
trail.
from us. No way. We fought long and hard for that. I remember our old golf cart. I think I was on it the last time it broke down. But
Yeah.
it's well worth the money. However, this is me personally now, speaking as a taxpaying resident, not a cop, I'd go with something a little
Rugged?
no,
Oh.
it's not needed.
This
for
would be
bike
like
path.
for maintenance,
Yeah.
like for like,
Yeah,
there
this
would have to be equipment.
I'd look
and
into
stuff.
something a little quieter because it's a very loud machine. Like I personally feel bad when I'm out on it patrolling because I feel like people are out there to have a nice quiet walk or walk with their family or whatever, and you hear for a quarter mile behind you until a quarter mile after that loud diesel humming.
Is it a
so-
diesel?
yeah.
It's diesel.
I thought they were.
They may make them. I don't. That machine is also. We bought that. Oh God,
Did you
Never
buy it
my
or was
career.
it a donated? Was it donated?
I don't want to misspeak. So I know Nikki D's did all the work to it and everything because when we got it, it was orange. That might have been one of the ones that was from drug forfeiture money that the drug dealers bought us. But Nikki and Betty definitely they did all the body work because it didn't come painted up like that or decaled. But yeah, me personally, if there was an electric option or something that for the bike path for you guys, that
Perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, there is electric option. I looked this up last year, and they're about the same price
Hmm.
as the diesel ones now.
You just
And
have
they can
have to have
and they
some,
can do snow plowing too.
Oh, nice. Yeah. See, we have none of that. We got ours right. It was part of the after microburst. Microburst or the October snowstorm. One of them, but it was back in 2010, 11, 12 in there. So I don't even think there was an option that is going back like 15 years.
I know we've looked at it. The question is too where it would be stored. I mean, it would be ideal to, if we had one, have it in your building. I don't know if there's room. Greg had talked about it down in the wastewater treatment plant, but if it's electric, it needs to be somewhere.
Be plugged in,
yeah. Or even, it would just need to be someplace close to the trail.
I bet it's something where if you found the funding, we'll find a house for it.
Yeah. Well, I've already talked to at least one business person down as they said that they would be willing to donate towards it. But that's part of the grand scheme discussion about what's going to happen with the bike path
The maintenance.
maintenance going forward
Hmm.
after
After we all age out.
after I retire. And there's a big kind of discussion but I think, I mean, I was at the Cape last year and they had one of those vehicles and you had all your stuff in it.
Yeah.
And you can get to where you need to go and you don't have to drive a car and park, or you don't have to
Yeah.
ride a bike or walk or do it, it's
Yeah.
just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, it's great for us. We have all our medical gear in it. We have all kinds of stuff, and ropes and everything else. And I mean, I've taken it all the way. We had hikers lost up in Mount Tom, drove it all the way out there. Park we go into, and it's great for off-road and it has 4-wheel drive. But strictly for the rail trail, I don't know who said it, but I would lean that way.
The electric.
But again, I'm not speaking on,
Mm.
you have the police, that's a.
How would it,
resident.
well, we wouldn't really use it in the winter time. It would be in the summer. We'd just have to make sure that it's got enough of a charge that you don't get stuck out.
And I don't know, I
Yeah,
don't know how long they're.
I don't either.
Unless we want to plow with it, if it gets to the point where it's going to be used to plow,
Yeah, I
But
don't know
I
if
don't
it
know.
would be, I don't know if you can get them.
it's going to be strong enough for that.
The only other issue that might be applicable to you would be sort of the graffiti along the trail, which seems like a kind of a chronic issue in certain areas.
Yeah,
Is there much sort of intervention with that, or just when somebody's particularly egregious and who's tagging it?
We
Unfortunately-
did have somebody a couple of years ago that was tagging not only here, but other communities, and they did track it down.
yeah, so a lot of times with graffiti, I'm not gonna explain all our ins and outs, but we have ways of tracking people down. A lot of people have their own signatures, and once they're caught, it kind of ties them to everything. There's a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where unless somebody sees it happening and calls it in, which a lot of times it's 2, 3 in the morning and it's only someone and their friends or even alone. We're not finding it until, if our guys are on, and girls are on patrol coming across saying, I wasn't there last night.
Yeah.
Or people in the morning are noticing it and calling us. And that's when we can start our investigation into it, which is too bad. There are certain places along the trail that do have cameras that are city owned. There's a bunch that we know of that are privately owned, and there are people that are very into helping the police. So we appreciate them, but they are few and far between. And a lot of times we can catch the person an hour after it happens walking and say, hey, that's so-and-so, let's go talk to them. So there are ways, but as a proactive stance, unfortunately, if some 15-year-old wakes up on Saturday night and sneaks out with his friends, all the pamphlets in the world are going to stop them from going to do what they're going to do. So
But the preference is like if we spot something and
call right away. Absolutely.
Let you know.
Yes. Never. You can never over-report anything to us.
Okay.
Yeah. The more we know, the better.
I mean, because we have, periodically over the years, but
Yeah. And this goes for everything. If you ever notice something, should I call or shouldn't I? You absolutely should. Because even if it's something that won't help us at all, there's still a chance that it could.
good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Have the police had any experience with like anti-graffiti like film or anything that you could put on signs that perpetually get attacked just so it's easy to clean off?
So nothing that I know of. We'd be open to it if somebody had that. That's more of a public works thing. They may, because they handle signage. I don't know off the top of my head. That's actually a really good question, but that would definitely be something for Greg at the DPW. He may have some info on that, but if you're seeing something, I mean, we want to know about everything anyway. If you see something brand new, and even if it's something small, let us know. But if you have something, even if it's after I leave and you're like, hey, that's like habitual or certain spots, then let us know. I mean, obviously bridges, everybody loves to tag bridges. So down on Route 5 at the Eastern Route 5, we always find new graffiti on that. And that's tough because there's not a lot of cameras. A lot of times it's, people, they jump out of their car to do their work and then they're gone. But
We've had trouble on the kiosk, those, there's one on Lovefield Street and there's one down at Coleman Road. It got so bad, we had the DPW, we got new plexiglass, I guess, or to cover it because you couldn't get it off. Those were two that we just this year, we replaced both of them because it was really bad.
yeah, but I like that idea, but that'd be a great thing. I can look into it, but that's not like a police budgetary item.
Right.
But I would not be against it. That's a good idea. All right.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
It's great.
And if anything comes up, I work the day shift. I'm our lieutenant. I'm in my office a lot of the time. So any questions, call, email. Love to hear from you.
All right.
All
Thank you.
right.
Great.
Thank you.
Are the police bikes still around? or-
Bicycles?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, our staffing it's so low and it's so tough. We used to be able to, I mean, even this summer, we had grants for some extra patrols that were technically supposed to be motor vehicle enforcement, but they tied in pedestrian bicycle safety. So we were able to get our bikes out. But a lot of times you guys would walk and like use crosswalks with another officer watching. But for this current fiscal year, we won't have that money available. But we also have a lot of other stuff. We're in a transition period right now. Without we have they call him our chief, but currently our acting chief, Dennis Scribner. We have a few people went on maternity leave. We have one open position. If anybody's interested, I think the posting's still open. So staffing, like I said, I'm usually in bed about this time with reading my kids a story, and instead I'm here the next 2 nights for day and night because we're just so short right now. But when we do have a full complement of officers, which like on the day shift, it's 4 patrolmen, along with the detectives and the admin roles, we can take one of our patrolmen and put them on a bike. But we haven't seen that on a regular, other than special events, since probably August. So, but we do still have them, and
You do.
a couple of our guys are big. They actually before their policing careers, worked at bike shops and were more skiers, but ski and bike tend to go together, and they keep them all up in great shape, and
Yeah.
they're available at any time. And like the Rag Shack, we had them out, but yeah, as far as everyday patrol, it's just tough right now.
But even just once in a while, a presence.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
would Be good for
Yeah.
people to see that
absolutely.
you're there once in
Sure.
a while.
Yeah, and I'm gonna follow up with the chief tomorrow about the idea of the educational end of it, just parking with a radar gun and just, slowing people down and then
Yep.
hand out some info. Yeah, the more proactivity, the better.
Of course, right now we're kind of getting, well, I mean, it's nice enough. that
It's,
people are-
at least for the next foreseeable couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see people out getting their exercise, so.
All
Well,
right.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Meeting you.
All right.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right, great. That was good.
Yeah.
Still have the, well, let's see, as far as I mentioned this, I think before the meeting started, the Trails grant. I did ask Greg today for an update, but he was busy and I didn't get an update, so I don't really have anything to report on that. So, it did get me thinking about going up to new business. It's gonna be close to time for the budget to be, getting close to budget time again. Last year, there was no money in the DPW or park department for the bike path, so our idea of shifting things over away from us for the maintenance didn't really work. With me leaving in the spring, I'm not gonna be here in the building. Doesn't mean I'm going away, but it made me start to get pretty concerned about how things are gonna be handled, going forward, starting pretty soon. So in my head, I got thinking that we could maybe do a soft handover. And I had written up this thing where I thought that maybe we could continue to pay for things like the routine mowing, the trash removal, and any upkeep of equipment that we own, that's in the shed. Terry is not going to be our senior tax work-off person this next year, but apparently there is somebody else that's interested. And we have been paying her beyond her allotted senior tax work-off hours. And I think we could continue to do that because in the fall, there's a lot of work to do. And she's been out there, getting rid of the leaves and doing all that. So I thought maybe we could, through our dues money and the mill donations and members, we would have enough money to continue to cover those things. And we could kind of continue to do that because it's easy. We have people that do the work and we just pay for it. The amount that is budgeted to the bike path in the city budget, which this year was $2,650, I thought that could go to the DPW instead of to us, and it would cover things like, like broken fencing and maybe replacing signs and, doing little, things like that. Things that they've kind of been doing anyway, but we've been paying for.
Eliminate that paperwork because they end up doing it.
Right.
So the money comes to us and we give it back to the city. It
Right.
seems like it's going in a
Right.
circle.
Well, they do the work for free, but like we had to buy the fencing.
Right.
We had to buy the Lexan for the signs. So this money that we would normally have, it would just be for them. And I also thought that starting when I leave, somebody needs to be the bike path person, that if somebody has a concern, so I thought it's, I don't want people calling my house. I think it should be the DPW who takes these calls. I mean,
For maintenance, you mean?
just things. And then the trail side brush hogging, I think that needs to be in their schedule as a regular, at least once a year thing. And they've been doing it anyway.
Like do in the fall or the spring?
Well, they did it a couple times here and there in the summer, but right now they're out there doing mowing right now. They usually like to do it after the leaves are all down and the trail gets quieter. They even like to do it on rain. These things that I thought we could easily shift over are things that they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
That was my thought. I had a brief discussion with Greg, and he's very short on people. And I'm wondering if maybe we need to sit down and have another meeting with the mayor
Yes.
and the DPW and maybe the park department.
Right.
Because I didn't get a very good reception to this.
But yet the mayor was
But she has-
enthusiastically in
she has-
support of
Yeah, they have to
this
give
switch.
the money. And
So maybe we need to go to city council.
no, it has to be the mayor. She does the budget.
Okay, so we start with with the mayor.
I think it's time to sit down again and say, hey, this is coming up.
It's been
like-
2 years now.
Yeah, and this I thought seemed like a very easy kind of way to start.
Well, we had proposed that it would be phased in
Right.
with 1 or 2 things a year, and we did give them a schedule
I
of
know.
it.
Yeah.
And then they were supposed to come back and meet with us
Yep.
before the last budget.
Yep.
And that didn't happen. And so I guess
I-
we need to
I
keep
th-
our
I think
foot on the
even if there's
pedal.
not a whole lot of money involved, I think that there needs to be a sit down with everybody and say, okay, this is, we need to figure out how we're gonna handle things when I'm not sitting down the
Right.
hall.
Right.
And, so it's gotten me kind of concerned, and I think it needs to be all of us in the same room agreeing on how things are gonna go forward. So,
So the DPW has concerns about,
well, they are short on people. They've got our trails grant, they've got all sorts of grants that they need to, that they administer, and they're short on people and equipment. And I understand the frustration. I can see it and I understand it. And I mean, I don't want to put too much of an extra burden on them, but this is city-owned property and we could just walk away from it.
Right.
We could just say, we're gonna give you $4,000 a year as a donation, and you just, truthfully, we could just do
Right.
that.
Right.
So
But we won't.
but we won't,
Right.
but, and I totally understand how he was, and I can see it and I understand it. But we need to have a plan in place, and it needs to happen
So,
before March.
so
or-
why
or-
don't we set a meeting, a few of us maybe, sit down with the mayor and Greg
I think it's gonna be a
And
little
maybe the-
contentious.
and
Well, I
maybe,
mean, I think we can remind them of the last meeting
yeah,
with the notes from it and say, this is what we discussed previously,
and the president
we're
of
no
city
further
council.
ahead.
I think the president of city council should be there too.
Well, we don't know who the president of city council is gonna be, because Omar's gonna be stepping down. Don't know who that is. I don't know. So I don't know when this should happen, and I don't think we all need to be there, but I think it needs to be a few of us, and we need to have everybody. Everybody's gotta be there to, like, the mayor, Greg, John would be good to have Park and Rec, but Park and Rec also is short on people.
Right.
And they're getting more parks and more parks. And they got the cemetery, and the problem is, just like Eric was saying, is that there's not the staff to handle all the work.
They have the open positions and they can't fill them.
Right.
Still nobody in planning.
So,
It's it's kind of everywhere.
yeah, so I don't know if Liz, John, Alexis, Jim, James, if you have any thoughts on that. I'm just starting to worry about it a little bit. Because it's gonna be different when I'm not here.
It's gonna be harder.
It's gonna be harder to keep an eye on things and handle things, and the next clerk is not gonna do it. So,
how does Northampton deal with their
I
budget?
think their DPW does it.
It just, yeah, I mean. It's sort of left.
Right.
Well, we are a city,
charge
we are a
of-
city appointed committee, so
But
well,
it's the
we're made up
Friends-
of volunteers.
Right,
but
just
it's-
finished
but
the
it's a
tax.
Group of volunteers.
Yeah, the
Right.
Friends of the Manhan Rail Trail have to provide support to the city in one way or another, whether they do it just financially or if we pay for things so the city doesn't have to pay for it. We have to be able to show, when I do the tax
Right,
paperwork that I
right.
just did,
Yeah.
that we are not just, raising money and doing nothing with it.
Right.
The reason we're formed is to be a support for the city, doing things that they would otherwise do, financially or otherwise. So we have to keep our hand in it that way. We can't just step back and just do fun stuff.
Right.
I mean, some things will have to take priority and some things will kind of move to the back of the bus. And
I mean, I think always going forward, in order to keep our supporting hard, if we don't do anything like handle paying the mowers or anything, we still would have to financially give something to the city to support the bike path. But-
well, and what we give the city is that roughly equivalent to what we would give, say, when we hire a private contractor?
Dollars. I mean, I just did it, but I can't remember.
And that's mowing and trash and a
Mowing and
few
trash
odds
and
ends.
repair fencing
Yeah.
and replace of Lexan. And next year it'll be a little different because we will have supported the grant application.
Right.
And we'll also, the brochures were paid in this
Right.
fiscal year. So, yeah. Alexis, you had something to?
Well, first of all, the sound keeps going in and out. I can't tell if everyone else on the call is having that problem or not. It's done it a few times. Liz, John, have you had that issue?
Yes, I've lost my connection completely a couple of times and the sound does keep cutting in and out.
Anyway, just FYI.
Also, the chat seems to be disabled, so I couldn't put a
It is.
message in there either.
The chat is disabled.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how it's set.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, one thing that I was wondering is, if you go onto the city website, there's a report an issue and there's nothing, where people can put in like issues for the trail specifically. So maybe that's some like administration issue. So you're not getting emails Barb isn't getting emails that has to be like personally handled. Maybe it could like help with communication and streamlining how like maintenance issues get flagged.
I think those usually go to the Public Works office, and the problem is, I'm not sure that they really want to that's something we have to talk to them about, because somebody, whether it's just answering an email or, somebody posts something through that or report it, somebody's got to be dealing with that. And I'm just not convinced that they're ready to take that on.
Sure, but like a ticketing system creates a data set that creates a precedent that they can hire more staff. So if you're, as the city clerk, doing all of the work that should be handled by DPW, then they don't have like the case to be like, okay, we need to hire. It's just a good way to document what is being addressed or neglected, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, we had a meeting, was it 2 years ago now? And there was total agreement that it would be good to have a seasonal person on the bike path. I mean, it was, everybody agreed with that. And then it went nowhere, absolutely nowhere. And then, even buying equipment, I said, Greg, maybe we can get a donation. And he thinks we need, if he's going to do it, through the DPW. He's gonna have a crew, he's gonna have a lot of equipment, it's gonna cost $100,000. And I mean, I don't understand that. So I think he's looking at it in a lot of bigger than we have been handling it. So I think
We need to have a conversation.
we need to have a conversation. So, I don't know, obviously we need to look at our schedules and the mayor's schedule and the DPW schedule and see if we can make a appointment. I mean, it seems like it should be kind of before the whole budget process begins. So maybe within the next, after Thanksgiving, maybe early December.
Yep.
Or something like that. So I don't know who would maybe be interested, but I mean, I don't think we all have to be there, but I think there needs to be a few of us. So. And then I don't know, we just.
Yep, you gotta start somewhere. And, I thought we already did this, but
I know.
I guess we gotta do it again.
Yep.
And,
So-
keep our foot on the gas.
Yeah, and I, like I said, I totally understand Greg's frustration because they're very obvious to me today. And I appreciate all that they've done and I appreciate them picking up the tractor today and then doing the brush hog. I mean, we all appreciate that and I totally understand his frustration. But it doesn't mean that we still need to figure this out.
Right.
So it works.
It's gotta come from above. It's not he needs more resources is what he's saying.
Right.
And that has to come from above. So we need to talk to
Again.
the mayor.
Okay. So
I'm willing to do
are
that.
there days of the week or times of the day that are better for people or do people know of, specific times they're not going to be here? It's going to be hard for me to do anything after the 13th of December because I'm going to be by myself to be honest.
Well, let's try to get it
Maybe the
early.
first
I'll
week.
be around,
The first week in December sometime maybe?
which isn't that far away.
It's not. No,
It's fine with me. But
It's the week
gonna-
after next.
I know.
It's the week after Christmas.
I mean,
after
before the
Thanksgiving.
13th, so, because after that, I won't be able to, unless we're meeting in my office, I won't be able to do it.
And that's-
Or unless it's after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, either one of those is it's fine.
Well, why don't I reach out to the mayor and to Greg and see what they have for availability,
Right.
and then we can go from there.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't know if this that I put together is a place to, a starting point or what.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we gave them something similar
I know.
and, we didn't get very far.
Right.
Because that was the detail and we just were talking big picture at that point. So I think big picture at this point is still on the table.
All right, so I will do that. I'll reach out to the mayor. I'll try to do that tomorrow and Greg, and I'd like even John to be there, John Mason, because if they can share, if DPW and Park can share, maybe that would take a little of the pressure off Greg.
Well, they were all three present at that meeting.
Yeah, they were.
Yep. All right,
And aren't we technically under parks?
technically,
Well, so then they have to be included.
but they have been, DPW has been more responsive.
Right.
I think they have more equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I will do that. And then, we weren't planning to meet in December. So do we want to look at a January meeting date? What day is President's Day?
I'll be away in January, but I can meet remotely. That's fine.
The 13th, the 20th is Celebration Day, or maybe the 13th?
Sounds good.
What day, January? That work for everybody else out there?
As far as I know.
Okay. You're away all month, Wendy?
I am, okay.
Okay. Hey, January 13th. Yeah, John?
I just wanted to say that I looked up the two bike trail projects on the DOT projects list. The one going to the Mountain View School connector is slated for construction in summer of 2027. And the one that goes from the end of the one that goes from the end of the trail at Route 5 to Atwood Drive is in the spring of 2026.
Oh.
That, believe it or not, is a $6 million project.
Wow.
Believe that?
Wow. Oh, I have to say that I went out for a walk with a friend in Florence on Friday, and they're doing the whole paving of that path. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's closed still. We were still walking on it, but I assume that's going to be a similar thing that like we're going to be doing. But it looked really nice.
Yeah, that thing's closed from Stop and Shop all the way out.
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got a base coat of pavement on it now, and I guess but it's nice.
I think that's supposed to be a
Great.
30-day project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, okay. Anybody else have anything to?
Do we know if we got our map printed up? Let's see.
Oh,
who's-
Evan.
Is Evan
Yeah.
with us?
No, he had something. He had to work.
Oh,
commitment
okay.
tonight.
All right. Well, can we check with him?
I'd like to get that. Yeah, he didn't say.
I
Yeah.
submitted this to the co-op to be change for change. I sent in the form today and I CC'd Wendy.
I saw it. Thank you. Yeah,
Great.
that's great.
Okay. All right. Okay. I guess, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
I
All right.
So
Okay.
anyone ever said
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.